Donald Trump mirroring Adolf Hitler and turning Jews into a scapegoat. Trump saying Jewish Americans will bear a lot of the blame if he loses the upcoming presidential election. Where is the outrage to this vile anti-Semitism? Welcome to the No Spin Zone. Graph's Grievances starts right now. With just over 40 days to go before Election Day, former President Donald Trump is already preparing to lose. In a campaign event ostensibly focused on combating anti-Semitism last week, Trump said that if he does not win the upcoming election, then Jewish voters will be to blame.
In my opinion, the Jewish people would have a lot to do with the loss. If I'm at 40%, if I'm at think of it, that means 60% are voting for Kamala, who in particular is a bad Democrat. The Democrats are bad to Israel, very bad. They'll never change because they have a section of their party now which has become amazingly and quickly very powerful.
If I don't win this election, and the Jewish people would really have a lot to do with that if that happens, because at 40%, that means 60% of the people are voting for the enemy.
To be clear, Jewish people make up just over 2% of America's population, and almost are entirely concentrated in New York and California, two states that Trump has no shot of winning. But beyond that, Jewish Americans are among the most consistently liberal group in the United States, according to the people at Pew Research. Jewish Americans are overwhelmingly not swing voters and reliably vote for Democrats, especially in presidential elections. So the idea that Trump is already blaming the Jews for him losing an election that is a little over a month away is totally illogical. But more importantly, Trump's scapegoating of the Jewish people is the oldest form of anti-Semitism. As the American Jewish Committee explains, anti-Semites have been using Jews as scapegoats for thousands of years, falsely blaming the Jews for the murder of Jesus Christ, the bubonic plague, and Germany's loss in the First World War. That horrific anti-Semitism, of course, giving rise to Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, who blamed the Jewish people for all the problems in the world and called for their total annihilation from planet Earth. The Holocaust was Nazi Germany's deliberate, state-sponsored persecution and genocide of the Jewish people, 6 million of whom were murdered between 1941 and 1945. So when Trump falsely and specifically blames Jewish Americans for his upcoming election loss, Jewish people and their allies rightly get infuriated, and, if I'm being honest, scared.
Committee. I've never heard you say anything like that. If we lose, it will be the fault of the Jews.
But Jake, Donald Trump, again, has been saying for months that anyone who cares about Israel, anyone who cares about the fate of the U.S.-Israel alliance should vote for him. They shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris, because Kamala Harris has consistently been the most anti-Israel voice in this administration.
You keep talking about Israel. I'm talking about Jewish voters who vote for any number of reasons on any number of issues.
And he was at an event talking about combating anti-Semitism here and around the world. When was the last time Kamala Harris spoke at an event about combating anti-Semitism?
Her husband is Jewish and is in charge of a group about combating anti-Semitism in the United States.
But she's consistently been opposed to what Israel needs to win.
Again,
not just
I keep talking about Jewish voters in the United States, and you keep talking about another country.
A lot of Jewish voters, just like a lot of Christian voters, care deeply about the fate of the Jewish nation and the status of our relationship with Israel.
Are you comfortable with him blaming it on the Jews preemptively?
The point he is making is that anyone that cares about that relationship shouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. They should vote for him. And again, he's been saying things like this, not just at anti-Semitism events, but speaking to Christians who care about Israel as well for months. The only reason the Democrats have latched onto it is now is that polls show he's winning a record number of Jewish voters.
This is the first time he has ever said, if I lose, it will be the fault of Jews. This is, believe me, I happen to have a pretty good ear for when people say things like this, and that's the first time he's ever said that. Just yes or no, are you comfortable with him using that language?
Jake, it's the same kind of language he's been using for months.
doesn't
Joe,
mean it's okay.
Yes, but it's his point. Jake, he's the most pro-Israel president we've ever had. He has Jewish grandchildren. Of course,
Kamala Harris has a Jewish husband. That doesn't mean anything to you.
Of course, well, it means something to you because you brought it up. But of
President,
course,
you were talking about anti-Semitism, and he's in charge of the group combating anti-Semitism.
That was Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, refusing to condemn Trump's anti-Semitic comments and trying to shift the conversation to the Biden-Harris administration's approach to Israel's war in Gaza. But the problem with that is Cotton is leaning on another anti-Semitic trope that Jewish Americans have a dual loyalty to Israel and the United States. What Cotton and Trump both do not seem to understand is that just because someone is Jewish, that does not mean they support the actions of the Israeli government. And that is why criticizing Israel, the country, is not synonymous with criticizing Jewish people. In fact, as I have reported here before, many Jewish Americans are against Israel's war in Gaza and are outraged that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has refused to end Israel's indiscriminate bombing of Gaza, which has now killed more than 42,000 largely innocent Palestinians, according to the Gazan Health Ministry. But unsurprisingly, Trump's most recent remarks about Jewish Americans are not an anomaly.
And I say it, if anybody I know is Jewish and they would vote for Kamala over me, they should have their head examined. If you think about it, I gave them Golan Heights. I gave them the capital of Israel, Jerusalem. I even built the embassy.
Any Jewish person that votes for Democrats hates their religion. They hate everything about Israel, and they should be ashamed of themselves because Israel would be destroyed.
Trump also dining in 2022 with outspoken anti-Semite Nick Fuentes. And just earlier this month, Trump traveling with Laura Loomer, a far-right conspiracy theorist known for making anti-Semitic, homophobic, and transphobic remarks. So why is Trump doing all of this? Because he sees his only path to victory turning Americans against each other and destroying the broad, diverse coalition Vice President Kamala Harris will need to win in November. Thank you for watching Graf's Grievances. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, share, and join me in the next one.